there, my name's Mike. I'm an aspiring mangaka, and in my channel, I like to go over various things. I'm kind of documenting my progress along the way, but I'm also giving little bits of tips and tricks along the way, both writing and art-wise, to kind of help you progress as well. So in today's video, I'm doing a continuation of last video where I kind of talked about which head angles you should be really practicing in order to be able to create a manga, right? And in today's video, I'm really breaking it down into how many heads over a variety of different pages are in particular kinds of views so that you can see exactly which ones to practice and how often you should be practicing them. Alright, let's get started. Alright everybody, so before we get started, I did want to say this really fast. If you look in the lower left hand corner, there is a link to a Discord. That is the Manga Mike Community Discord. It was created by fans, and I'm also in there, and I try to talk to everybody at least once a day, and it's a good place for you to get to know me to get to know you, and I also will give you art feedback and things like that if you want to post there. So let's get started. The first thing that's really important to look at within this spread is the overall differences in which angles are used the most, right? And the reason why I created this video is to show you this. So the 3/4 view makes up over half of the entire study that I did from last week, right? So there's 240 heads, 127 of them are in the 3/4. Now I will say this, the three quarters that I chose, I also included ones that the head is slightly like this or like this. So this one is probably the most extreme 3/4 view as far as being below or above angle. Everything else is within that range. So I did want to say that. But again, if we really look at this, this is very important to see. Well, there are millions of heads, probably like what, One Piece for instance, which is going on 1,000+ chapters. There's probably over 50,000 heads within that long running manga, right? Maybe even 1 million, right? And while this is a small sample size in comparison to that, it's big enough where I think that we can make some generalizations. So what does this tell us? This tells us that we should be practicing 3/4 heads most of the time, right? That is where we need to really work, is here. There's no need to go into these extreme angles and really learn how to draw. For instance, I'm going to zoom in here and learn how to draw this head angle. Like, there's just no reason for it. You're just kind of wasting your time, because you can just use a reference for that, right? And using the reference would help you even do it faster. So I just kind of wanted to get that piece out of the way. Now the next thing that I wanted to kind of show you was I kept everything in relative size to the page. I didn't scale any of these heads up or down. So the other piece that's really important to see is that 3/4 head views and front views in particular, they typically take up the most space. So why is that important? Well, you have to be able to do a very detailed version of these heads. So for instance, you can see here and here, there's a lot of rendering in those heads. This one as well, this one. I'm kind of just, I ended up circling a lot of the Boichi art, but that's just because his art is the most detailed. But it's the same even in here. I mean, this one isn't super detailed, but that one is, right? So that's telling you even more information, right? The detailed heads and the ones that you're going to spend the most time on even when you're doing your manga are actually the 3/4 view and the front view. So that's really important to kind of talk about as well. And they're also taking up the most page space, which again, you have to be really good at drawing something if it's taking up a good portion of your page. Now the next thing that I wanted to talk about too is when these angles are used the most frequently. So the side view angle is actually one of the least frequent angles that you're going to use, and there's a reason for that. let's zoom in here. Side view, you don't really have too much of an opportunity to show a lot of emotion unless it's super funny like that one, right? Typically the emotions that you get here are emotions of like this, that gives you this feeling of like solemnness almost, or somebody's in deep thought. Like this is very similar, right? And when the head's facing down versus up in this angle, it gives you a different feeling. When the head's facing down, you get this feeling that the character feels either overwhelmed or sad or something of that nature, while looking up, looks like they're kind of pondering something, right? And then obviously you can get some of the emotion in here where it's like the grit and like anger and frustration of battle, right? But it minimizes the amount of emotion you can have, because really emotion is seen in the mouth and in the eyes. And when you don't have the entirety of the mouth or the entirety of the eyes really being able to be seen very much, then you run into these problems in which you can't really give a great emotion with the character. And when you can't give a lot of emotion, your audience has a tough time connecting. So that's why side views are not really seen very frequently in manga, because you're not able to get the full range of emotions. Now, let's go into extreme angles. So extreme angles are used a lot of the time to actually convey a mood. So for instance, you actually get a lot of emotion here, but that's also because you can see both eyes and you can see a majority of the mouth. But it also gives you this mood. We are looking up at this character. This character feels almost larger than life because of the anti view that we have. That's a mood, right? Same is true here. In this particular view, this character was very muscular character, supposed to be seen as almost godlike in comparison to the other characters. So we get that view in order to feel that particular mood, right? And then this, right? So from top down, that gives us that bird's eye view, that gives us this feeling that the character is feeling really small and things are feeling extraordinarily overwhelming for the character. So that's when an extreme angle can be used at its best, right? I also included in here, this isn't really an extreme angle, these like back of the head views, but it's not something that you necessarily will practice frequently, so I did put it in there as an extreme angle. So let's look at what we have left. So we get the rest of the views as these two, and as you can probably tell, this is because these two particular angles of the face, they're going to give us the most emotion. They're going to allow us to put in the most detail. And they're also going to catch the eye of the reader more. When you're looking at my face right now, for instance, if I'm to turn this way and obscure most of my eye, you're less likely to be engaged with me talking, versus if I just turn my chair this way and I look into the camera, you're more likely to listen to me and look at me and actually stay on the video longer, right? It's because I'm actively engaging with you. The same is true here. So all of that is to say, if you join the Discord, I will say this, I will provide this as an image to the Discord so that you can have it. But if you want to request it, but if you want to really look at the last video and this video, you can really see what we should be practicing as mangaka, right? All these other, like, these angles right here that people, you can spend hours trying to do just this face right here. For what though, right? You're gonna use it very rarely, right? In this face as well, you're going to use those faces so scarcely that it's just not, you don't have to do that. You don't have to memorize it, right? And that's really the point of this video. What should you be memorizing and what should you not be memorizing? You should be memorizing 3/4 view, front view, and maybe some side view, right? other than that, use reference. That's not cheating. It's perfectly fine, right? And in fact, it's actually going to make your work better. Alrighty. So that's all I have for today. I hope that these 2 videos were really helpful. I actually really enjoyed making them because it helped me really understand what I should be practicing as an aspiring mangaka. I was already practicing a lot of these things, but I would catch myself doing these kinds of views pretty frequently, right? And you just don't need to. So yeah, that's all I have for today. If you like the video, please like it, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.